His name was Mansa Musa, the 10th Mansa or Sultan of the Mali Empire, the world's wealthiest man. And his journey to Mecca, his Hajj, was not just a spiritual pilgrimage, it was a geopolitical event, a shockwave that began in the remote heart of West Africa and shattered the calm of the mighty Mamluk Sultanate in Cairo. Cairo, the jewel of the medieval world, was about to meet a king whose entire kingdom was built on a fortune that defied belief. A king who didn't just carry gold, he dispensed it with a casual, almost terrifying generosity. The pilgrimage began in 1324. Mansa Musa's traveling party was not a small band of travelers. It was an army of historical accounts vary, but the scale is staggering. 60,000 people. This included servants, soldiers, and heralds, all dressed in Persian silk and fine brocade. The baggage train was equally colossal, hundreds of camels, each laden with hundreds of pounds of gold dust and pure gold bars. The primary sources, specifically the historian AluMystic, later chronicled the precise payload of the king's personal camels. 80 camels were said to carry only gold, with each one bearing 300 pounds of the precious metal. His official goal was to perform the Hajj, but his secondary, perhaps unintended, goal was to announce the power of Mali to the entire Mediterranean world. This was not an invasion, nor an expedition. This was a moving mountain of gold, marching toward a date with destiny in the ancient city of Cairo, in 1324. The colossal caravan arrived in Cairo, the center of the Mamluk Sultanate. The Mamluk Sultan at the time was Mamluk Anasa Muhammad. Mansa Musa's first act was one of profound political and religious courtesy. He bypassed the Sultan's court and went directly to the mosques, observing the religious protocols. But the Sultan's officials insisted on a formal meeting. An ancient protocol dictated that Mansa Musa must prostrate himself before Sultan al-Nasser. Mansa Musa, the king of a wealthy, independent empire, refused. He famously declared he would only prostrate himself before God who created him. The standoff was tense. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Mansa Musa was persuaded to enter the court, where he greeted the Sultan respectfully. This small but powerful act established his sovereignty. He was a wealthy king, but also a devout one, who would not submit his temporal power to a rival's authority. Once the political formalities were over, the generosity began. For 3 months, Mansa Musa and his entourage stayed in the city, and for 3 months he lavished gold upon the poor and the officials. The historical text by AluMystic states that Musa gave out so much gold that he entirely disrupted the gold market in Cairo, Mecca, and Medina. Think about that. A single visitor so saturated the market with gold that its value against silver plummeted. The gold, used for centuries as the stable currency, became devalued. This was not a small fluctuation. It caused hyperinflation. The prices of commodities, food, textiles, everything shot up dramatically. It took over a decade for the gold market in Egypt to fully recover. This was the ultimate, unintentional display of power. Mansa Musa had proven that the wealth of Mali was not just significant. It was market-altering on a global scale. He was literally giving away the equivalent of millions of dollars to strangers, completely unconcerned about the economic fallout. As Mansa Musa began his return journey, he was faced with an ironic problem. His staggering generosity had depleted his own cash reserves for the journey home. But Mansa Musa did something extraordinary that few monarchs would have done. He realized the damage he had inflicted on Cairo's economy, and according to historical accounts, he attempted to rectify it. To cover his expenses, he borrowed back much of the gold he had given away, accepting the high interest rate that the newly inflated market demanded. This was a king, the wealthiest man alive, accepting the economic consequences of his own actions. The true, lasting legacy of the Hajj was not the gold crash. It was the awareness it brought. News of the Golden King spread to Europe, where cartographers started drawing Mansa Musa, enthroned with a gold nugget in his hand, right in the heart of Africa. The Catalan Atlas of 1375 is the most famous example. Mansa Musa returned to Mali, bringing with him architects and scholars, like the Andalusian poet and architect Abu Ishaq al-Sahili, who would build the legendary Djinguba Mosque in Timbuktu. The story of Mansa Musa reminds us of a simple lesson. Wealth isn't just about having resources, it's about the power to transform reality just by sharing it. A single journey, over 700 years ago, is still remembered for the gold it gave away and the economy it accidentally broke.